Good morning, good afternoon, viewers. Today's lecture, I am going to finish this text, and I am going to take up the two sections, last section, that is death by water. And as I have told you earlier, and again I am saying that that in T.S. Eliot. That in T.S. Eliot, always water, that as you know, the water is a very sensitive image, right? He says that death by water. So water is here, right? So he says that death by water, and um, that there is a death and there is water, and water is very essential for death. That two is, one is called fire and one is called water. These two elements of life, these two elements of nature, they are very important for the wasteland, for human life, for fertility as well. So what we find here is that Phlebas the Phoenician, a fortnight dead, forgot the cry of gulls and the deep sea swell and the profit and loss. Right. So just let me finish. Then again, I will give you explanation. Firstly, in my lecture, what I want to tell you is that I want to make you understand that how to read the text. What are the ways of reading the text? So he says that Phoebus the Phoenician, a fortnight dead, forgot the cry of gulls and the deep sea swell and the profit and loss. Right? So you see that this profit and loss, selling, buying, selling and buying, all types of negative imagery, all types of negative imagery are portrayed here. Selling, buying, how there is a seller, and then there is a you see that this profit and loss, and then there is a Phoebus the Phoenician. So that the story is about the bargaining, right, to some extent. And this is what T.S. Eliot wants to say, that how this modern life is like a merchant, like bargaining. And then she said, a current under sea picked his bones in whispers. Again, there is a bone. As he rose and fell, he passed the stages of his age and youth, entering the whirlpool, Gentile or Jew. O you who turn the wheel and look to windward. Hmm? This wheel imagery. And then there is a, oh, you who turn the wheel and look to windward, consider Phoebus, who was once handsome and tall as you. Right. So this is the process of life. That once he was also tall, now he has and was prosperous. So this is the decay of time. There is a sense of time in T.S. Eliot that you find in four quartets, uh, because that is T.S. Eliot's later writing. So uh, in the reading of T.S. Eliot, you find that how there are so many mechanization of modernity. This modern life, how it has been completely, it has been in the form of this mercantile aspect. There is a mechanical life, commercialization of humanity. That is another issue you find in the wasteland, right? So and that's what I say, that handsome and tell you. And then also, if you go back, you find that again there is was handsome. So These are very center. One is flavors and Phoenician, and then we come to the what the thunder said. Now this is very important. What the thunder said ultimately, that this is the way where T.S. Eliot says that he come to final point that that what the thunder said. Thunder means maybe God, like prediction, like prediction, like prediction. As there is a prediction in human life. In Hindi we call Akashwani, right? So what the thunder says, this is called Akashwani. And then he says, after the torchlight, red and sweety faces, after the frosty silence in the gardens, after the agony in stony places, the shouting and the crying, prison and palace and reverberation of thunder of spring over distant mountains, he who was living is now dead, we who are living are now dying with a little patience. Now, so this episode is very crucial because T.S. Eliot has a very highly religious connotation, and by the time when he was writing this text, the wasteland, he was passing through a stage that from where you find that he was passing through a stage from where he realized that the fertility right was in question, and ultimately he takes the shelter of God. For T.S. Eliot, God becomes the supreme power. And then he says that after the torchlight red on sweety faces, after the frosty silence in the gardens, after the agony in stony places, the shouting and the crying, prison and palace and reverberation of thunder of spring over distant mountains. He who was living is now dead. We who are living are now dying with a little patience. And this is very important that he says that because with a little patience, we who are living are now dying. So there is a death, they are dying. So again, there is a death and life, life and death, life and death. This is a process. That is there is the T.S. Eliot says somewhere that my beginning is my end. My beginning is my end, and my end is my beginning. Right? This is a statement that T.S. Eliot gives somewhere. So T.S. Eliot says that after the torchlight and on sweety faces, after the frosty silence in the gardens, after the agony in stony places, the shouting and the crying, prison and palace and reverberation of thunder of spring over distant mountains, he who was living is now dead, we who were living are now dying with a little patience. So T.S. Eliot says that this is thunder said because thunder is in the form of God. There is a prediction, and God takes place. He incarnates God in the form of human beings when there is a too much terror. All right, that everybody is dying. So that is what T.S. Eliot says. Ultimately, he takes the he seek God's shelter, and here is no water but only rock, rock and no water. You see, this is another question that T.S. Eliot says that here is only rock and no water, and then she says that there is here is no water but only rock, rock and no water, and the sandy road, the road winding above among the mountains. So T.S. Eliot says that there is only rock. Then T.S. Eliot again says that there is no water. The road winding above among the mountains, which are mountains of rock without water. And there is the mountains of rock, but without water. There is no water. So rock, this is modern position. It is like stone age. It is like stone age. There is only rock. I am reminded of the warning issued by Donald Trump that Donald Trump will back Iran in a rock, in a stone age, if it doesn't open Hormuz Strait, right? So this rock is a symbol of stone age, and and in stone there is no fertility at all, because there is no water, then there is no land, there is no fertile land, because everything is barren. And then T.S. Eliot says, which are mountains of rock without water. If there were water, we should stop and drink. Among the rock, one cannot stop or think. So T.S. Eliot says that if there is water, there is a possibility of water, we can stop and we can drink. But the problem is, the pathetic situation of modern life is that there is no water, right? There is only rock. One cannot stop or think, because we cannot stop or think, because there is only water. There is no rock. There is only water. There is rock. There is no water. If there were only water among the rock, dead mountains, mouth of curious teeth that cannot spit. Here, one can neither stand nor lie nor sit. There is not even silence in the mountains, but dry starlight thunder without rain. Another question. See, uh, this poem how beautifully exemplifies the modern condition, the wasteland. What happens in the war? Once war takes place, could you believe that what would have been when United States detonated the first nuclear atom bomb over Japan? And then again, this is the history that London was also terrorized. So, to some extent, T.S. Eliot believes that this poem is the beautiful portrayal of the post-World War life, and you have read that that this starts with Ottoman Bismarck's policy, that blood and iron policy. Otto Bismarck has given a policy in Prussia and French War, where France was defeated. So Bismarck says that there is blood and iron policy, which later paved the way for the emergence of Hitler theory of Nazism and fascism, and that is how First World War takes place. So there is only rock, there is no water, blood and iron policy, which means that terror, there is threat, there is, and consequently this is not at the level of only physical, rather this is at the level of psychology, morality, ethics, politics, at everywhere. And that is what T.S. Eliot says, that there is not even silence in the mountains, right? There is no silence in the mountains. Complete reversal of romantic idea, that where Wordsworth says that there is this is what Wordsworth says, that in life, in Tinter Navy, Wordsworth goes Tinter Navy, and he find that there is a peace and silence in mountain, right? So this is what he says, that cannot spit like this, there is a mountain. So but red sullen faces near and snarl from doors of mud cracked houses, right? So this is mud cracked houses. So house and all these things are in very pathetic position, and no rock up there if there were rock, and also water, and water a spring, a pool among the rock, if there were the sound of water only, not the cicada, and dry grass singing. So grass is also they are dead. They are, so dry grass singing, and that and but sound of water over a rock. Where the hermit thrush sings in the pine trees, drip, drop, 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 but there is no water. There is no water, you know. There is no water. And T.S. Eliot says that there is sound of rock, sound of water over rock, and there is no water, which means that I spring water. So there is loss of water, loss of life. Water is a symbol of life and fertility. And then, who is the third who walks always beside you? This is the question. That who is the third who walks always beside you? See that this is T.S. Eliot's religious connotation, that first, second, and third. Normally we have three person. First is I, second is you, and normally there is third. Maybe that is God. So God is here, and God walks beside you. God knows everything, what is true and what is right and what is wrong. So T.S. Eliot believed that this is very interesting line. Who is the third who walks always beside you? When I count, there were only you and I together. But when I look ahead of the white road, there is God. कहा कहते हैं ना कि जिसका कोई नहीं होता है उसका इन सब खुदा होता है. So this poem says that 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 again there is who is the third who walks always beside you? When I count, there are only you and I together. But when I look, when I count, there are only you and I together, right? But T.S. Eliot says that there is always another one walking beside you, gliding wrapped in a brown mantle, hooded. But I don't know whether a man or woman. But who is that on the other side of you? This is Tiresias. Tiresias, imagery of Greek imagery. Tiresias is in the form of God. God, and then so who is the third who walks always beside you? This is a God. What is that sound high in the air? Murmur of maternal lamentation. Who are those hooded hordes swarming over endless plains, stumbling in cracked earth, ringed by the flat horizon only? Only what is the city over the mountains? Cracks and reforms and burst in the violet air, falling towers. Right? And then T.S. Eliot finally goes that all the cities like Jerusalem, Athens, Alexandria, Vienna, London, all these cities are unreal. This is another imagery, that there is a God, there is a third who always walks beside you, and then Jerusalem, Athens, Alexandria, Vienna, London, unreal. All these famous cities are unreal. These cities happen to be the metro city. They are metro city. They are a highly developed city. And a woman drew her long black hair out tight and fiddled whisper music on those strings. And birds with baby faces in the violet light whistled and beat their wings and crawled head downward down a blackened wall and upside down in airward towers, tolling reminiscent bells that kept the hours, and voices singing out of empty cisterns and exhausted well. You know that exhausted well, woman come, woman relationship, baby faces in the violet light, black hair out tonight, reminiscent bell, etc. And then in this decade, whole among the mountains, in the faint moonlight, the grass is singing. In the faint moonlight, the grass is singing. Over the tumbled graves about the chapel, there is the empty chapel, only the wind's home. It has no windows and the door swings. Dry bones can harm no one, only a cock stood on the roof tree. Cocorico in a flash of lightning, then a damp gust bringing rain. You know, cocorico, and God is not singing. There is only home, there is dry, there is bones, and Ganga was sunken. And this is T.S. Eliot again believed That another river where the two rivers are invoked here. One is sweet Thames runs softly. T.S. Eliot says that sweet rains run softly till I uh, till I finish my song. That is what T.S. Eliot says. And then there is another river, sacred river, that is Ganga. In Indian sensibility, Ganga was sunken, and the limp leaves waited for rain, while the black clouds gathered far distant over Himavant, means Himalaya. There is a black cloud, and Ganga is sunken. The jungle crouched, humped, and silent. Then spoke the thunder. Now, when Ganga is, and this is T.S. Eliot's belief that when Ganga is sunken, means that this is the point, that when Ganga, which is a symbol of absolute deity, that a religion. So Ganga, what happened that when in Indian mythology, when we commit any types of crime, or when we perform, because performing burial rite at the banks of Ganga is considered as a salvation for human life. That like this is this you find in Madikanika Ghat in Varanasi and in Prayagraj also. So it says that Ganga was sunken and the limp leaves waited for rain, while the black clouds gathered for distant Homer Himavant. Himavant means Himalaya. Himalaya is a place from where Ganga is originated. So Himalaya, he says that the limp leaves waited for rain, while the black clouds gathered for distant over Himalaya. The jungle crouched, humped in silence. The most of the jungle, they are humped in silence. And then spoke the thunder. And when such types of circumstances occur, then thunder spoke. He said, Da means give. This is the basic problem. Give means we have contentment. We should try to compromise, try to consolidate, be satisfied whatever you have. The root problem, the root cause of all problem is when the humanity is destroyed, is that we don't give. We have desire. We don't control our desire. So then he says that give means that try to give up something. Don't be so much intoxicated or engrossed with worldly pleasure. Right? This is the problem. That's how World War took place, because Hitler wanted to capture entire Europe, following the policy of Ottoman Bismarck, that where he says that blood and iron policy. So, Datta, what have you given, my friend? Blood shaking my heart, the awful daring of moment surrender, which an age of prudence can never attract. By this and this only we have existed, which is not to be found in our obituaries or in memories draped by the beneficent spider or under seals broken by the lean solicitor in our empty room. So T.S. Eliot gave the solution that the first is that Datta means what we have given. And then T.S. Eliot, again he go Dayadhvam. Dayadhvam means sympathize. That control, sympathize and give. These are three theory. I have heard the key, turn in the door once and turn once only. Turn once only, we think of the key, each in his prison. Thinking of the key, each confirms a prison. Only at nightfall, ethereal rumors revive for a moment a broken Coriolanus. And then the Matya, the boat responded gaily to the hand, expert with sail and oar. The sea was calm, your heart would have responded gaily when invited, beating obedient to controlling hands. And this is the final. That's how T.S. Eliot finally says that that the only the only solution for all these things is that I sat upon the shore, fishing with the arid plain behind me. Shall I at least set my land in order? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. And then Poisa soke nil foco chigli afina quando fiam uti chilidon o swallow swallow li prince acquittance alatur aboli. These fragments I have sowed against my ruins. When then I'll fit you Hieronyms mad again. Hieronym is a character in in you know that in Spanish tragedy by Thomas Kyd, right, who lost his son, and then he is mad because, and then he says datta damadhyam damatya shanti shanti shanti. Then he says that because he is mad because his son was killed, and this is a revenge tragedy. So T.S. Eliot again invoked that that revenge is probably one of the root cause of destruction, right? You have read one poem by Robert Frost, that is Fire and Ice, right, where he says that fire and ice, fire is a symbol of this desire, this extreme anger, and ice is a symbol of hatred. However, Robert Frost also says that if ice is melted, that could be the solution for the anger. This happens in Mahabharata. You know that this entire problem that Duryodhana was humiliated by Draupadi. But in turn, what Duryodhana did? Ultimately, what Duryodhana did? Duryodhana also humiliated Draupadi before the king and in the court by disrobing her. And Draupadi also made the promise that he would not comb his or bind his lock till the time that by the time that she would receive the blood from the chest of that Aswathama, and this was the promise that she made. So there is no passion, there is no giving. We don't give. We don't have. We don't want to serve the violence. We don't want to compromise. We must have a sense of reconciliation, and that's why Mahatma Gandhi becomes very focal point. You see this. That's why I appreciate Mahatma Gandhi and again. That if you read Mahatma Gandhi again says that offer this side if someone is slapping you, because that is the only solution for the for not taking such types of destruction. That's why today that Israel and Iran, I mean America has declared that it has issued a notification that they are going to have a ceasefire for 10 days. So that is what I want to say, that's this is what T.S. Eliot says, that if you want to live in a Santi, if you want to gain peace, which is the ultimate pursuit for life, then we must have a sense of datta, dayadhvam, damatya means control yourself, son, give up, and have sympathy, sympathize, which is the absolute value of human life. Sympathy, sentimental, be sentiment. That's what Adam Smith has written a very interesting book called The Theory of Moral Sentiment. And that's how this text ends. So read this text again, try to find out that how this text is the representative text of modernism, understand what T.S. Eliot wants to say, just try to understand the allusions employed in this text, and finally this poem culminates with Indian philosophy, Santi, Santi, Santi. But how we will achieve this space, T.S. Eliot gives an idea that if you want to achieve peace, then there are only three solutions. That is the ta, the yadvam, and the matya. Thank you. In my next video, I will take up some. I will explore the explanation of illusion. Thank you.